Sam Yarnell is actually having some internet connectivity issues today. So guess what? Patrick McEnroe is going to hang out with us for the whole show. Looking forward to that. Obviously, we'll get a little tennis in with him, but he's going to basically talk about everything we're talking about today on the show. So that should be fun. ESPN and TNT commentator Patrick McEnroe. So we got that coming up for you. Nikola Jokic. Oh, man. I mean, we are all like praying to the sports gods that this is not what some people fear it is, and that is some sort of ACL, MCL tear. When somebody hyperextends their knee the way he did last night, we'll get into it coming up. It's never a very pretty thing, but we'll see. Well, there'll be an MRI. By the time you see the show, the MRI may have already been done. But we'll certainly talk about it best we can with the information we have, and obviously see where that goes. Big Monday Night Football game to talk about. We'll get into that as well. Marcus Freeman staying put at Notre Dame. There is that to talk about as well. But we start things out, as always, with the big story. And the big story revolves around this Monday Night Football game we watched between the Rams and the Falcons. And a lot of people say, well, it didn't really matter. It mattered a lot for the Rams in terms of positioning, because a win last night was potentially the difference between them playing against a team like Carolina or Tampa Bay in the opening weekend of the playoffs, or having to go on the road and take on Chicago, or having to go on the road and take on Philadelphia. And we know their history of Philadelphia here recently in the postseason, and just playing Philadelphia in general. They play them close, but they lose. And we know how good Chicago has been this year. Now, do you want to make the argument you trust Matthew Stafford more than Caleb Williams, that you trust Sean McVay more than Ben Johnson? Have at it. Still, going to Soldier Field and winning is going to be difficult. This is a bad loss for the Rams last night. You cannot get down 21-0 in this game in the third quarter on this Bijan Robinson run, or late second quarter on this Bijan Robinson run. You can't do it. And they put themselves behind the eight ball, and kudos to them. They rallied, get it to 24-24, but left just enough time for Kirk Cousins to drive the Falcons down the field and score a game-winning field goal, kick a game-winning field goal with Zane Gonzalez from 51 yards. A couple of things I want to talk about, though, off of this. Push the Rams to the side. I know that sounds weird. I'm going to talk about the Falcons, who are a team that aren't going anywhere this year as far as the postseason is concerned. Kirk Cousins. It is remarkable. As much as we're talking about the Falcons and what they've done here recently and getting some wins, they have a chance to finish the season 8-7 if they win, 8-9 next week if they win their final game of the regular season. It is amazing how the choices an organization can make can ruin potential opportunities, windows of winning. We see how bad the NFC South is. And Atlanta is, going to finish within, a game of potentially winning that division? They're going to be within a game or two. And you go and look at the season, and you always try and nitpick of where we could have won, where we could have picked one off here, won a close game, lost a close game, that sort of thing. We all do that at the end of the season and say, wow, if they had only, kicked a field goal here or not blown that lead to Carolina, a month and a half ago, whatever it was now. But Kirk Cousins is very interesting, because there is no way to not find the correlation between this team playing better and Kirk Cousins being the starting quarterback as opposed to Michael Penix. And we all buried Kirk Cousins and basically put him on the shelf and said, it's all over, old man. You've gotten your last bag. Michael Penix is the man. And then Michael Penix came in, and it just wasn't that good. The play was just average at best. There were flashes, but nothing like the consistency and that steady hand that Kirk Cousins has given this team here over the last several weeks. And it does make you wonder, if you're this organization next year, is Kirk Cousins the guy? Are you going back to him? You're paying him all this money. It's clearly difficult to get rid of that contract, to shed it. Is Kirk Cousins the guy next year? He certainly played well enough to justify it. There isn't anything in this draft that wows you to the point where Atlanta's going to be drafting that says you're going to be able to get the quarterback of your future. Maybe it's Kirk Cousins next year. That's one. Two, is Bijan Robinson on the verge of becoming this generation's Barry Sanders? Now, calm down. I know we all want to protect our heroes, and he's no Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders is one of the greatest of all time. And calm down. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a once-in-a-generation talent that, because of where he's drafted, has no shot of winning. Go look at the Falcons in the Bijan Robinson era. They don't win. They're a sub-500 team. They fire head coaches. They're burning through quarterbacks now. This is, I think, the third different quarterback or fourth different quarterback that we've seen since Bijan Robinson's been there. Is he on the verge of becoming Barry Sanders in the wrong way? Not in terms of the once-in-a-generation talent, but being stuck in an organization where you're not going to win. Remember, they control your rights. They could franchise tag you twice. He could be stuck in this muck and mire that is Atlanta for at least a few more years. And who says they win during that time? And then the window closes because we know how quick it can go with running backs. Saquon Barkley rushed for 2,000 yards last year. This year he's a pedestrian running back, statistically speaking. Again, do we still see the flashes? Do we still see the signs? Of course we do. But if you're Bijan Robinson and you are in your prime years, forget the earning potential, which he's going to get paid. He's going to make his bag in that next deal he gets. But if you're Bijan Robinson, you've got to be fearful and mindful of the fact that as long as you're stuck in this organization, you just may not win. We talk about this all the time on this show. Where you're born matters. The difference between being drafted by the Chiefs with Andy Reid and being Patrick Mahomes and being Mitchell Trubisky, drafted by the Bears. Sometimes you're just born in the wrong place, and that might be Bijan Robinson. We're talking more about the Monday Night Football game. Patrick McEnroe joins us next. Welcome back to this Tuesday edition of the show. SportsWrap continues from Las Vegas and from the East Coast because we have a special guest hanging out with us today, Patrick McEnroe.
Very special. Special to be with you, Jason.
Happy holidays, my friend.
We had a good last week or so, and New Year's. I hope you celebrate in style out there in Vegas. A lot going on, I'm guessing.
So there's always something going on in Las Vegas. ESPN and TNT's own Patrick McEnroe hanging out with us on the show. As we'll do some tennis later on, because if I have Patrick McEnroe on, I have to talk some tennis. And yesterday I had a lot to say about this battle of the sexes, which was not much of a battle. It was really, I thought, farcical, but I want to get Patrick's opinion on that a little later on in the show. So I was talking about this in the open today in the big story, Patrick. This idea of, and we talk about this all the time in sports, where you're born matters. Patrick Mahomes being drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs has a lot to do with why Patrick Mahomes is where he is in his career. If Patrick Mahomes had been drafted by the, Chicago Bears, as opposed to Mitchell Trubisky, who wound up drafted by the Chicago Bears, maybe their careers wind up different. And we're finding that out with somebody like Bijan Robinson, who's having this amazing career over his first few seasons in Atlanta with the Falcons, as this dynamic running back that can do everything. And I don't know how long that fire stays lit, playing in an organization like Atlanta that struggles so much year to year and just can't seem to get their you-know-what together. But I wonder if there's a risk that he becomes this generation's Barry Sanders, in that we're talking about a once-in-a-generation talent, a guy that's going into Canton one day for the Hall of Fame, but doesn't really ever have a chance to play meaningful postseason football because of the team he's born into.
Well, it's kind of twofold, isn't it? It's not just being on the Atlanta Falcons. It's also being a running back, right? Because the running back shelf life can be a little bit shorter than other skill position players, certainly quarterbacks, but even wide receivers who tend to play a lot longer, a lot more years. They can avoid the hits a little bit better. But, let's enjoy this guy while we can. I mean, right after they got that big turnover yesterday, he pulls off a 93-yard run for a touchdown out of nowhere to put them solidly back in front of the Rams and made a late push. So, this is a guy that's got unbelievable ability, not just to run the ball, but to catch the ball as well. And, you got to love his attitude. I mean, I saw his actually interview before the game and his interview right after the game. They love to mention God, a lot of these guys, which to me is a little much. I'm not sure that God had anything to do with how well
you said this.
But it does kind of drive me a little bit crazy. Not, if you're into God, great, but do I need to hear about it, how it affects, your team and so on? It's a little much. Anyway.
Hold on. No. I cannot let you get away with being the only one who gets to say something about this, because I have to say something. I just once, in the post-game scrum in the locker room for the losing team, if I heard just once when Bijan Robinson lost one of the 9 losses that the Falcons had this year in that post-game presser, if somebody asked and he was just like, man, I want to thank God for this loss. I want to thank God. If I heard that just once, and this is not an anti-religion thing. I'm agnostic. I don't go anyway. I was raised Catholic. I'm a recovering Catholic, as I like to say. It's fine. But if just once one of these guys said after the game, I want to thank God for this loss, man. We got through it. Whew, man. Thank the good Lord for this loss. Then I'd be okay. I could buy it. But I can't when it's only after they win. So God wanted you to win. They wanted the other team to lose. I'm sorry. Right. I digress.
You were allowed. You went off on your tangent. I started you. I teed you up.
You did it.
But let's talk about what the guy does on the field, because that's pretty remarkable to watch. And I heard Joe and Troy talking about the greats of all time, Jim Brown. I'm not sure you want to go there, but you mentioned Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
There's sweet. Yeah. There's Walter Payton. There's quite a few that you can bring up over the course of the last 40, 50 years. And this guy's, putting himself into that conversation. So to your point, you're right. It is a little bit out of his hands. And I think that's one of the reasons probably why Barry Sanders retired early, because he just said, I'm getting beat up.
Yes.
And I don't have a chance to win a championship here. The NFL, to me, is a lot different, though, now. And I think, the bigger picture coming out of that game for me was the fact that I've been high in the Rams, as many of us have been.
My Super Bowl pick before the season started.
Yeah. And, as good as they are, there's just no great team out there.
Nope.
And even, look at the Eagles, you look at what's happened in the AFC, Seattle's good, San Francisco's good, but are any of those teams looking like they're unbeatable? Even Josh Allen, makes that great drive down to get to within a point. They go for the 2-point conversion. And these are the 2 best quarterbacks in the league right now. Josh Allen misses. The guy's pretty much wide open for the 2-point conversion to win the game. And then last night, Stafford throws a couple of bombs, a couple of which almost got caught. But the one, I can't remember who it was to, was early in that last drive when the guy was wide open. I mean, he was wide open. And you're thinking to yourself, this is exactly the guy you want making that throw. And he missed the throw, and he knew it. So even these great quarterbacks, Stafford's got 1 Super Bowl ring, Josh still looking to just get into the Super Bowl, are not guarantees. You know what I'm saying? Like if it was Tom Brady or Peyton Manning making those throws, would they have missed those throws?
Well,
I mean, maybe. I guess it's possible.
I mean, it's possible. I'll tell you what's more interesting to me, though, to flip it from the young and Bijan Robinson to the older and Kirk Cousins, who everybody had dead and buried, basically, as far as his career was concerned, despite this massive contract after Michael Penix Jr. becomes the quarterback. In the final minute here, a thought on him, because the way Atlanta's played over the last few weeks, they've got to be going, well, is this guy our starting quarterback next year? We're paying him anyway. Maybe they go back to Kirk Cousins next year. He could clearly still play.
I think the issue there is Penix showed some signs of being pretty good. You're carrying 2 guys that arguably could start. The way the NFL works now, you like to have a good backup, particularly one that's a veteran like Cousins. You bring Phillip Rivers out of retirement. I mean, he played decent enough. It's not like he's terrible. He could play. Cousins is obviously quite a bit younger, but he's still up there in age. And do you want to go with him as your starter, knowing that it's pretty likely he's not going to play all 17 games, right? I mean, and so how much do you put into that? Because this is a guy that has had plenty of injuries, as many of these quarterbacks do, particularly at this stage of their careers.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see what they do in the offseason, because that is a very gettable division. As we've seen, nobody seems to run away with it every year. It's a 9-10 win sort of division. We're coming back more with Patrick McEnroe. Nikola Jokic is hurt. We're all holding our breath. Next. Welcome back on this Tuesday. Continuing the conversation with Patrick McEnroe, who's hanging out with us for the show today. His internet works fine. Sam's did not. So that's why. So
as they say, stuff happens. Just get a better opportunity for me to spend a little more time with you, Jason.
I know.
Which
we don't get enough of, my friend.
No.
So Patrick McEnroe. By the way, I forgot to mention. Bad job by me. Patrick McEnroe, weekends, SiriusXM, Mad Dog Radio?
Mad Dog Radio, Channel 82. Just signed my extension, so psyched to be back for a little Saturday morning action. I got my little breakfast club there, starting to gain some followers and listeners, so it's been fun.
What are you doing? 11? What time are you on? 8 a.m.?
A little early, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern time. So not exactly the time slot of a lifetime, but... some of us have to earn our keep, Jason. So
Lord, you don't have to earn anything. You're Patrick McEnroe. Come on, man. I got to talk about the NBA. I was sitting here watching the game last night, and the alert came across my phone about Nikola Jokic going down with this knee injury, and people are seeing it here on the screen. He hyperextends the knee, and whenever you see that sort of hyperextension, frankly, we just saw it with Patrick Mahomes. And it was torn ACL. And turned out he also had a torn LCL, which they're going to do surgery on. And maybe he'll be back by the start of next season. We'll see. But a big guy like Jokic, all that weight and sort of hyperextending that way. You ever suffer a hyperextension like that, Patrick, when you were playing tennis?
I had a kind of a nasty knee injury at one point when I was actually returning from my shoulder surgery, which is sort of the tail end of my career. But anyway, I had a knee that I couldn't straighten out. It was during the Australian Open, which is coming up in a few weeks. And I was down there playing, and I'll never forget I had it taped up, and I couldn't straighten it. It hurt. I came back, went to see my doctor, who at that point was a big-time doctor for the New York Giants. And he looked at my knee and he said, I think we should go in there and you should scope it. And I'm like, really? What's wrong with it? What's the problem? He goes, well, just go in there and clean it up. And I had just come off of having a shoulder surgery that got totally effed up. So I had the wrong operation done, which at that point I still didn't know. So I was a little hestant. I was like, really? I went to see another doctor down the hall, literally in the same building. He goes, yeah, try this brace. Let me give you this brace. He goes, I said, how is feeling now? Because I hadn't played for about 5 days. I'd come back from Australia, so I'd rested a little bit. He goes, try this brace. Never had a problem with my knee again, ever.
Huh.
And the guy wanted to do surgery because, he thought of me like a football player. I'll just go clean it up. You'll be back in 3 weeks. I said, well, tennis is, we're not quite as tough as football players, but if you're a lineman in football, you got to move just one direction.
Right.
Tennis, you got to move all, multiple directions. So anyway, I learned my lesson there that don't, maybe get a second opinion at times.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they're going to be looking at multiple options when it comes to Jokic. Well, by the time you watch this show, folks, you may already know what the MRI yields on this, but I've seen everything from different doctors who have watched the video and said it could just be a hyperextension. They're optimistic, to others who say, look, this could very well be a torn ACL. And if that's the case, you're basically dooming, it's basically the Nuggets season. That's at risk at that point.
We do not want to see that.
No, nobody wants to see it.
This guy's been unbelievable, especially the last couple weeks. Just been absolutely amazing to watch him.
Christmas night was insane.
insane. I mean, like triple double, like in the first quarter, he almost had the triple double.
55. He had a 55-point triple double, and I said the biggest shame of that game, by the way, is that nobody saw it because it was the late game and it didn't end on the East Coast until like 1:30 in the morning.
I saw the first half. I stayed up for the first half. I watched it. It's pretty awesome to see.
I want to talk about Draymond Green for a moment. So he's got a couple of different podcasts he does. One with our friend Jordan Schultz, where Draymond Green talks about football. And then he has his own podcast, which he talks about basketball in. This is Draymond Green talking about playing on Christmas Day. He doesn't like it very much, apparently.
About how great playing on Christmas Day is, how much of an honor it is. And like, yes, it is an honor to be considered one of the draws, the great draws that is in the NBA. When I say draws, I mean media attention, eyeballs, people wanting to see, people being interested in the particular team is great. To play on a day where everybody's watching, it's incredible. All of those things are great, but two things can be true at once. Playing on Christmas Day also sucks. And the reason it sucks is, number one, what I just said, it can affect your mood. Number two, we are human beings, and just like everyone else, enjoy Christmas Day with their families. That kind of gets messed up for us in their homes or on a vacation with their families making memories. We don't get that opportunity. So I hate when people are like, oh, man, it's an honor to play on Christmas Day. People should shut up. Like, no, you should shut up, because whether you played on Christmas Day or not, I don't really care of the perspective, whether it's the perspective of someone that played on Christmas Day or someone that has never come close to playing on Christmas Day, or an NBA game for that matter. My stance on it is the same. Playing on Christmas Day is great. It's fun. You get all the eyeballs, but you miss family time. And so for all those that
So there you go. I mean, that's the essential gist of what Draymond's saying. There are a lot of people that are going to say there's a lot of other people that have worse jobs working on Christmas Day than you, Draymond. Patrick McEnroe, what do you say?
I say I'm glad he has his own podcast, because it sure takes him a while to get to his point. I mean, he makes the same point over and over again, which is, you could say that in 10 seconds, Draymond. So maybe you need to work on that if you want to continue your career in TV. But look, show business. Welcome to the jungle. I mean, you're out there in Vegas. This is what people do. My wife's a singer. She's performing all through, oftentimes throughout the holidays. If you're in a show, we went to see a Broadway show a couple days ago, the whole family. And my kids loved it, and it was a Bobby Darin show, which was tremendous. The lead guy was amazing, busting his ass out there. And my wife, having done that throughout her career at different times and in holiday shows, says, well, we're going to leave, we're going to go home, and he's going to have to do that like 6 times again in the next 4 days, meaning like the star and all the people in the show. Yeah. So, Draymond, we're not crying for you, my friend. The reason he gets to go on those nice vacations is because you're making a lot of money playing basketball, and you can have Christmas, Eve or maybe the day after, and these are we're not feeling that sorry for you, okay?
No.
And the Warriors are probably not going to be in the mix. And by the way, the NFL sort of taking over Christmas now.
Yes.
Like they've taken over everything else. So the NBA at some point might be, do we really want to put all these games up? Killed in the ratings, but that's another story.
Draymond, I've worked every holiday for like the last 30 years. We're coming back. Patrick McEnroe is hanging out with us today on SportsWrap. I love it.
I love it too. Well, we've got to do this more often, Jason.
He was supposed to be on yesterday's show. He had an issue he had to take care of. I didn't want to say what it was, but I mean, I knew you.
My wife had an eye infection.
Yeah, she had an eye infection.
Yeah, that was not pretty, but she's good. She's all right. She's going to survive.
So Patrick was supposed to hang out with us yesterday, and he was like, can we still do today? And I was like, absolutely. You can come on anytime. You got an open invite, man, to come and hang out on the show.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely. So I am dying to know what you think. You know how I feel. I thought this battle of the sexes thing, which I didn't even know was happening until I happened to see it, was going on. So you have Sabalenka and Kyrgios. Sabalenka, number one women's player in the world, Arina Sabalenka, who I am a huge fan of. She's out there doing her thing. And Nick Kyrgios, who hasn't been relevant for 3 years, ranked in the 600s. He's battled injuries. 33 years old, I think. And
I think he's a little younger, but he's like 30 now. I think he's 30. He's still pretty young.
Oh, I thought he was 33. But so you have Kyrgios playing against Sabalenka in Dubai, I believe it was.
Dubai, yes.
You couldn't get a check out of Dubai? Come on, man. How are you not there? You got to get some of that Dubai money.
And I needed to stay home for Christmas. I got the message from Grandma.
See,
stay home.
I would have gladly worked on Christmas if it meant a huge check in Dubai. So we have the two of them squaring off. She's on a smaller court, so he's got a smaller area to hit to. They're both throwing up only one serve. I mean, why? If you're going to do it. And have them play on the same court with the same rules, Patrick. To me, this was a farce. It was a fraud perpetrated on the tennis public. Who wins in this?
Nobody wins except them because they made some, pretty good money on it. They have the same agent, number one. So that clearly had something to do with it. They played in an exhibition a couple weeks ago that I was at Madison Square Garden, where Osaka played Sabalenka and Kyrgios played Tommy Paul, and then they did a little mixed doubles. That's all good. I call it the funny money season, Jason. When Alcaraz is making million, 2 million a night, playing 4 or 5. We call them one-nighters all over the world. They're doing different events and these exhibition events. And it's funny because it's the top players that make the most money, and it's usually the top players that complain about the schedule being too long. But then they go and they take the money when there's no tournaments. So I'm fine with you taking the money. If you're Alcaraz, just don't complain about the schedule down the road, which he doesn't do for the most part. But, the Kyrgios thing is interesting because Kyrgios, this is like when he shines, right, to play these because that's the only time he can play. And he's still a draw. I mean, even at the Garden, there was a very good crowd. Obviously, they had Sabalenka and Osaka as well, but there are a lot of people into seeing Kyrgios, watching him. He's very good with the crowd. He's entertaining. He's not fit enough. He's not even attempting to play on the regular tour anymore. The whole thing's a bluff. That he's, now I'm going to play in the Australian. It's a complete joke. He's only doing it so that he can continue to do what he's doing.
Is he going to play in Australia?
He's going to play in Brisbane, which is the first tournament, which will start next week. They have a few run-up tournaments down in Australia. So he's taking a wild card there. He'll play doubles. He'll probably get hurt after it because he's not fit enough to play he's fit enough to play Sabalenka in an exhibition, but he's not fit enough to play like full-time on the tour. That being said, this is his way of trying to stay relevant. Make some money, is still around the game. He'll do a Draymond Green. He'll have his own podcast. He's quite entertaining. He's smart. He knows what he's doing. For Sabalenka, that is the more interesting part of why did she decide to do this? Now, she claimed in her comments after the match, I'm just doing this. It's for fun. I played at a reasonable level. I mean, Kyrgios was probably playing at about, 60, 70% of his capacity. And I see a lot of people on social media saying, the number one woman can't beat the six. We already know that. It doesn't matter. We have no interest in that. The number one woman player in the world can't beat the number one junior in the world. But who cares? They're two totally different sports. It doesn't take away my interest from covering women's tennis, from watching a great, women's tennis match. It's not about whether they can compete with men. So the fact that they made the court a little smaller, they went to one serve, was just to try to way to make it a little bit more entertaining to watch. Because if the top-ranked woman in the world played a mediocre Division I college player, Jason, male college player, they'd lose 6-1, 6-1, 6-1, 6-2. That's just a fact. But again, to me, that's irrelevant. Billie Jean King came out and said she was disappointed because of all that she did and what she did with Bobby Riggs. It was about women's rights. It was at a different time. I mean, I don't take this that seriously, so I don't get that into the weeds. They played. They made some money. It was somewhat entertaining, I guess, for some people. I didn't watch it. I just saw a couple of the highlights. I really didn't lose sleep over the fact that it was played or the fact that I missed it.
Do you think it gives fuel to the fire, though, in the haters? When we talk about equality in money for women versus men, does something like this hurt that movement for women in sports in the final minute here?
I think it hurts a little bit, yeah. And I think that would be the biggest reason not to do it, because if you're looking at, women's tennis is the most successful female sport on the planet, financially. And, luckily the other sports are getting better. But, 8 of the top 10 highest paid athletes or women are tennis players. And it used to be 10 out of 10. So now you're seeing, Caitlin Clark and others in other sports start to make some pretty good money. But tennis has always been, and because of that, equal prize money. Now, the fact of the matter is that the regular tours, when they're separate, the men's and the women's tours, the men's tour is much more successful financially. It's just a fact. I just saw that, the numbers are not even close. But in the majors, they're all paid the same, because it's one ticket to get in, to the event for the most part of the tournament. So so it doesn't help that argument for women. No.
Patrick McEnroe's hanging out with us. ESPN, TNT, SiriusXM. More with him next. We'll wrap it up with some odds and ends 10 minutes from now. Marcus Freeman going to stay at Notre Dame. And Tiger Woods, easy for me to say. Tiger Woods is 50 years old.
Wow.
He's joined the ranks of Patrick McEnroe in the 50 club.
No, I'm not going to be there much longer.
No, I know.
I got 6 months to go.
You don't look it, and that's all that matters. You don't look it, and you certainly don't feel it, and you don't play tennis like it, as I found out when we hit a couple of balls a couple of years ago. And I'm sitting there trying my hardest, and Patrick's just sitting there bunting it back to me. And I asked him the other day, I'm like, why aren't you playing? I was at a pickleball court. There's a pickleball court. Now I'm going to get on this. So there's a pickleball court right next to where I live. 4 courts. I take my dog and walk him around the park there. There are people lined up every day to play pickleball. I mean, just tons of people there. And they all alternate, and they got a nice system. And I took a picture of it, and I sent it to Patrick, and I'm like, Patrick, pickleball? And he's like, nope.
I try to avoid it. Yeah. Well, I'm into it. Here's what I compare. Pickleball's like bowling. It's
careful. Don't insult my sport. That's my game.
That's a game, not a sport.
No, it's a sport.
All right. Sure. Okay. Anyway, it's very social, and I like it. Just like bowling.
I tell you.
Same, right?
You go bowl a tournament where you got to bowl 9 games of qualifying every day for 3 days, and then tell me it's not a sport.
If you play enough pickleball, you could get tired too. Actually, a lot of people get injured playing pickleball because they haven't been doing stuff, and they go out, and so the orthopedic surgeons are loving it. Knees, ankles. Be careful out there, Jason.
I'm not playing it yet. I've got a paddle, but I have not played yet. I have not tried it yet. I'm afraid I'll embarrass myself. So, Patrick, the tennis season is coming up. What is the storyline you are most looking forward to on the men's side? I know the continuation of Alcaraz and Sinner is great. Another year of Djokovic. Can he get one more? What is it that you're looking forward to the most in 26?
To me, it's been this. It's similar to what I've seen just in the last 6-9 months. Who else is going to step up? Who can win? If you had to say right now, outside of the big 2, who would be your bet to win a major? Other than Sinner or Alcaraz, would it be Djokovic to get one more? Would it be Sasha Zverev? Would it be one of the Americans, Taylor Fritz or Ben Shelton? Can Tiafoe come back? He had a down year. Tommy Paul. Some of the other younger guys coming up, Mensik from the Czech Republic, Mahac, there's a bunch of guys, Fonseca from Brazil. I think he's probably got the most upside of the young guys coming up. He's 18, I think maybe just turning 19. But it's interesting. And then you look at the guys that were there that thought they were going to be the guys right after the big 3, before Sinner Alcaraz came on the scene. Medvedev, Tsitsipas, Zverev, Rublev. Only Medvedev's the only guy that's won a major in at the U.S. Open when Novak was going for that calendar year Grand Slam. And all those guys have sort of fallen off. Medvedev's had a good second half of the year last year to kind of get back in the mix, but Tsitsipas is a disaster. Rublev, okay, he's still decent, but to me, it's like who of those players is going to or can any of them do it? I mean, the odds say now they can't. I mean, the odds say it's going to be all Sinner Alcaraz. unless one of them gets hurt, and then you got to just pick off one of them. But at the moment, they have distanced themselves in a way that even the big three didn't distance themselves that far away from the pack. Because you had Andy Murray, you had Wawrinka, you had Del Potro, guys like that that could sneak in. Right at the moment, you don't have anybody that can do that, and certainly not consistently.
When we did the end of year show, my theme basically was on the men's side, Alcaraz, Sinner, and those two alternating majors, but then or alternating slams, and then on the women's side, it's this smorgasbord of talented female players that are sort of all splitting up the pie when you talk about the slams. Do you see a similar scenario this year, or can Sabalenka, or Swiatek sort of separate themselves from the pack and maybe grab 2 or 3?
I think Sabalenka, she was in the finals of, I think, 3 of the 4 last year, and including the French, which is her worst surface, losing to Coco Gauff there. But I think that the top few have separated themselves. You mentioned Swiatek is certainly there. She took a step or so back, but she did win Wimbledon last year. She can win on any surface, which she's done. Coco, still trying to sort of fix that serve and the forehand, just make it more consistent, especially under pressure. I think those 3 are definitely have sort of distanced themselves. That being said, there's not nearly the same gap from those top players as there are from the top 2 men to the rest of the field. So when you look at Pegula, when you look at Rybakina, when you look at some of the other women that are, say, between 4 and 10 or even 15, you can make the argument that there is not that big of a gap. Mira Andreeva.
Anisimova was in 2 finals last year. Could she break through?
Definitely. I think she will. Actually, I think she will break through because I think she's going to do well in hard courts. Which she did last year, getting to the final of the Open. I think she'll be a factor in Australia. And on grass, clearly she made the final there. So I don't think, and she did, by the way, when she was a teenager, make the semis of the French. So the clay court difference is not as extreme for women as it is for men. At the top of the game, that's why you see Sabalenka can play well on clay, Coco can play well on clay, and so can someone like Anisimova. Swiatek, obviously, over the last 5 years, has clearly been the best clay court player, but not nearly as dominant as she was for those previous few years, as she did last year.
Patrick McEnroe is hanging out with us. I'm going to hold him for one more. We're going to do odds and ends. I got to know what you think about Tiger Woods at 50, playing on the Champions Tour potentially. And Marcus Freeman's decision to stay at Notre Dame for now. And I do think it's for now, not forever. We'll get into that as well. Patrick McEnroe of ESPN and TNT on the tennis side, SiriusXM Radio. You can catch him on Mad Dog Radio on the weekends as well. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to do. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Tuesday. Tomorrow, our last show of the year. Thursday and Friday, we are off. You will get the SportsWrap Best of 2025. We'll go through all the sports, all of our favorite guests, talking about the top stories of the year in those sports. Looking forward to that. Couple of reminders before we go. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the SportsWrap with Jason Page podcast. It's available on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show Monday through Friday, 45 minutes. It's there for you early every afternoon. We also have the SportsWrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. This is all the rage. If you have not checked this out yet, what are you waiting for? Go and subscribe. We've got this TV version of the show, Monday through Friday, available on our YouTube channel. And pro tip, it's actually available there many times before you can even see it on TV anywhere in the country. So go and check it out. Subscribe to our Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Also available there, Sports Wrap Shorts. We have put a lot of work into these. The top stories in sports, we have them covered every day. When news breaks, we jump in. And over on YouTube, you can see Sports Wrap Shorts. They're 1 to 3 minutes long. It's easy to digest. You can do them while you're on the go. Go and check those out. Sports Wrap Shorts also available on our TikTok channel, Sports Wrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram. You guessed it, Sports Wrap Jason Page. And without any further delay on this Tuesday edition of the show, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Patrick McEnroe. which I'm not used to saying, so I had to work my way into it. Marcus Freeman, the head coach at Notre Dame, and not the end for him because he says he's staying put at the University of Notre Dame. I say it's for now. I think he's there for a good time, not a long time. I don't think he's the guy that's going to be there for 10, 15 years. He doesn't strike me as that type. I always point to the example, and you'll appreciate this, David Shaw. David Shaw at Stanford was coveted by when he was having all that success at Stanford, was coveted by NFL teams, and he didn't make the jump. And I think to this day, he'll never admit it, but he probably regrets not making that jump because now he's like an assistant somewhere. He's like a quality control coach somewhere in the NFL. I think Marcus Freeman at 39 is likely, I think, at some point to make the jump to the NFL when the right opportunity arises.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, little difference between Stanford football, and I can say this as a Stanford grad, and Notre Dame football, okay? I know it's, and you're right. Back in those years, he was getting a lot of play to go to the NFL.
He was.
Which, in retrospect, he should have. But Marcus Freeman, it's a different story, right? You're at Notre Dame. He's kind of helped rebuild Notre Dame in the last 5 years to where, they played for the national championship last year. You feel like they're going to be are they the Notre Dame of old? No. But are they the Notre Dame that should be able to contend year after year in the new Wild West that is college football? I would say yes. I believe, yes, they'll be able to contend. I think it's interesting what's happening in general in college football, that you can have, a Texas Tech or an A&M, teams that weren't traditional powerhouses, Ole Miss even, get really good, right? Indiana. I mean, who would have thought 10 years ago, Indiana in football? It just doesn't happen. And that's because of the money, and they can change things like that. So all of a sudden you're Alabama, the advantage that you had, you don't just have it now if you're Alabama. I mean, Texas has got it because they got the money. University of Texas, Georgia.
Sure.
Okay. Probably, Michigan and Ohio State pretty much should always have it. And I think Notre Dame's in that part. So I don't know, where did Marcus Freeman start? Like, what's his pedigree? Was he always in college?
Yes.
Or did he ever? So there's not that many coaches that were hugely successful leaving college, going to the pros. I mean, Harbaugh is just one of them, but for the most part.
Pete Carroll too.
Yeah, Pete Carroll. Yeah, okay, that's your feel. I mean, maybe he's young enough. It's just a question of what does he want to do.
Yeah, I think ultimately he winds up in the NFL, but he's still so young at 39. Maybe he thinks he can get one national championship at Notre Dame and enhance his resume and then go get whatever he wants in the NFL. Odds and ends. Is it the end for Tiger Woods? A lot of us don't know. But what we do know is he's turned 50. And maybe it's a new beginning for him on the Champions Tour. Nobody knows if he's going to play on the Champions Tour this year for sure because of all the injuries he's been battling. Would you watch Tiger on the Champions Tour, Patrick McEnroe?
100%, absolutely. Just like I'd watch Roger Federer if he comes back and plays some exhibition matches, which is what he'll do. And, there isn't anything really similar in tennis. There used to be some, tours for older guys.
Yeah, I remember.
Golf, it's not as interesting in tennis because it slows down so much, whereas in golf, if I watch Tiger Woods at, playing a senior event, it's really not that different from watching him play in a tour event. It doesn't look that different. And plus, you've had some players into their late 40s, 50s, compete and actually win majors.
Yeah.
First of all, he can make a lot of money doing it. Not that he needs it, but even when you make money, you still want to keep making money. So if I'm Tiger Woods and you only play 3 rounds, right?
Except for the majors, yes, you only play 3 rounds.
So it's a good way for him to, kind of see where he's at, right? Yeah. Because you're always worried about him in a regular. Oh, he's going to play 1 or 2 good rounds, but then what's he going to do on round day 3?
Yeah.
So I say more power to him. I think he should do it.
Yeah.
And I think he should use it as like practice to see if he could make a run to go play in the Masters or British Open.
Look, Bernard Longer made a fortune on the Champions Tour. Hale Irwin, a fortune on the Champions Tour. And rising tide lifts all boats. If he goes to the Champions Tour, all those guys are going to make more money. Patrick, I always appreciate you, my friend. You are one of one. Thanks for hanging out with us on the show. We'll do it again soon.
You got it, my friend. Happy holidays. Happy New Year to you and all the listeners.
We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye. Hi there. I'm Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got SportsWrap shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? You probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half as they're not half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.